case of a workplace that wants to apply HACCP, there are some things you must follow. It is a basic prerequisite for increasing the effectiveness of the HACCP system, and we call them prerequisites management. Prerequisite management is the standard that regulates the basic hygiene conditions and methods that must be followed in order to produce safe food where food is manufactured and processed. According to the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety's notice in Article 5 of the Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Point HACCP for food and livestock products, a total of 8 management standards are established and observed: workplace management, hygiene management, manufacturing and processing facilities management, refrigeration and refrigeration facilities management, water management, storage and transportation management, inspection management, and recovery management. In this video, we will learn about business place management. Workplace management is about the environment that handles food. This includes architecture, external environment, waste treatment facility, workplace, ancillary facilities, and others. From now on, let's take a closer look at the basic workplace management standards and management methods that must be followed to produce safe food at the food manufacturing and processing site. Let's check today's learning contents. First, we will learn about workplace facility standards and ceiling management. Second is workplace zoning. Third, we will study about workplace management. And fourth, we will learn about ancillary facilities. Through today's study, you can explain workplace facility standards and ceiling management methods. You can also divide each workplaces into clean and general zones. In addition, you can explain the management methods that meets the facility standards and explain how to manage the auxiliary facilities such as toilets and changing rooms. Now let's begin today's study. Workplace facility standards and ceiling management. Where should buildings with food and livestock manufacturing facilities and raw product storage facilities be located? According to the Food Sanitation Act and the Livestock Products Sanitation Control Act, workplaces that handle food should keep a distance from livestock wastewater, chemicals, or other facilities that produce pollutants, so that they do not adversely affect food. The workplace building must be located in a legitimate place under the relevant laws as it is affected by the Building Act, Fire Protection Act, and Environmental Act. Therefore, it is necessary to continuously check the location and surrounding environment of the workplace and to periodically check the status of the workplace building. In addition, we need to check what laws and regulations are required for the management of the workplace building, such as reporting the installation of temporary architecture and whether our workplace is well followed. Like the workplace building, the actual workplace dealing with food should be independent building or separate from the facility used for any purpose other than food, livestock product manufacturing, and processing. In this case, separation refers to dividing into separate rooms or spaces by walls or floors. The standards for managing prerequisites established in accordance with the laws and regulations we learned earlier are as follows. First, the legality of the workplace building. Permission is required for the workplace building to be legally recognized. Workplaces, spaces that have not been licensed, registered, or reported are considered as unauthorized buildings because they are officially recognized as structures. So, they are evaluated as having no workplace. When the area changes due to the expansion of the workplace, the changes must be reflected in the building registration register. In addition, temporary architecture such as containers are subject to reporting, so they must be contacted and reported to the relevant local government. Next, we will learn about the separation of facilities. Facilities that manufacture, process, and cook food should be separated from wastewater treatment facilities or waste storage facilities that are used for purposes other than food. Hazards should be removed. to ensure that there are no waterlogging, waste, sewage, weeds, or glass around the workplace. In addition, the habitat, breeding, and attractant of pests should be thoroughly managed to prevent pest infestations. Hygiene management around the building is required to prevent pollutants from entering.
Check it out. Workplaces must be located within an independent licensed building. Please make sure to check whether the area is included in the building area. It is necessary to check whether the site matches the building register and the floor plan of the workplace. The manufacturing process should not be carried out outside the workplace. Production should be carried out in a closed workplace where external pollutants can be blocked. Next, we will learn about the sealing management of the workplace.
The workplace shall be constructed with complete sealability to prevent leaks, external contaminants, or pests, rodents, etc. All locations of potential entry points in the workplace, including doors, ceilings, walls, floors, intake ports, exhaust ports, windows, etc., should be identified, and the sealing management should be thoroughly carried out for each location. In particular, air curtain, fly screen, double door, etc. should be used to seal the exterior door, and a buffer zone should be installed as needed to prevent pollutants from entering through doors.
Make sure that the door or window inside the workplace is closed when you're working. If the buffer zone is ineffective, make sure to improve it. If so, how can we check whether the workplace is sealed? After turning off all lights in the workplace, you can check whether the light is blocked or not with the naked eye to confirm that the workplace is sealed. To prevent pollutants or pests from entering through the external doorway, sealing processes such as air curtain, vinyl curtain, silicone, etc., and fly screen are used.
You can also install rubber pads or double doors on workplace doors. Most importantly, sealing management should be performed according to the conditions of each workplace.
If the ceiling is damaged, rodents can enter, so it must be closed immediately and sealed. In addition, pests and fine dust can be entered through windows and ventilators, so it is recommended to install fly screens. Dangerous substances can be found even in a small gap, so it is necessary to manage them carefully. Workplace zoning. Now, we will learn how to set up a zone in the workplace.
According to the Food Sanitation Act, the workplace refers to the raw material processing room, manufacturing processing room, packaging room, and other workplaces necessary for the manufacturing and processing of food. The workplace should be separated or partitioned. However, if it is deemed unnecessary to separate or partition due to the automation of the manufacturing process or the specificity of facilities and products, it is not necessary to separate or partition facilities on the premise that they can be distinguished from each other.
Workplace zoning can be divided into 3 categories: separation, segregation, and partition. First, separation refers to the case of different buildings. In a case of the same building, all workplaces should be separated by installing partition walls, etc. Segregation is similar to separation, but is distinguished by partitions or movable walls, etc., not by partition walls. Note that partitions or movable walls should be used, but installation should be done to prevent cross-contamination or mixing. Finally, partition is used when it is deemed unnecessary to separate due to automation of the manufacturing process or the specificity of the facility's products. It refers to a case in which each facility can be separated from each other by spacing by means of 3 lines, rope, and nets. In addition, even if it is difficult to separate the workplace, it can be managed separately. In this case, the location of the clean zone should be distinguished and classified using a line on the floor, etc. Also, the time difference should be set so that the clean zone work and other work are not performed at the same time, so that cross-contamination does not occur.
According to the previously discussed law, the workplace can be divided into clean zone and general zone and can be separated, segregated, or partitioned according to the characteristics and processes of the product.
The clean zone is the area that must be kept the cleanest. It performs the process that is judged to have a large impact on the final product in the event of cross-contamination due to exposure of food, etc. General zone is where biological hazards derived from raw materials can be cross-contaminated, or where there is no risk of cross-contamination of external pollutants into the product after packaging. Semi-clean zone can be added if it's needed. The semi-clean zone can affect the hygiene and safety of the product, but it is a less sensitive zone than the clean zone. It refers to the workplace that requires on-site disinfection management, such as molding room, heating room, dehydration room, etc.
Here you can see an example. It is important to set up and operate the zones according to work characteristics. Let's learn more about the workplace zoning through an example. The figure shown is an example of a frozen seafood workplace where there is no heating process in the entire process. It is a structure in which work proceeds clockwise from the freezer for raw fish on the top left. Open rooms, thawing rooms, pre-treatment rooms, and washing rooms, where processes that may cause cross-contamination are performed, can be set as general zones. However, the processing room, rapid freezing room, and interior room, which are considered to have a large impact on the final product if cross-contaminated, can be set as clean zone. And again, the outer packaging room, where there is no risk of cross-contamination of external pollutants in the product after packaging, can be set as a general zone. The zoning of the workplace can be properly set and managed in consideration of the characteristics of the workplace, the hazards of the production items, potential hazardous foods, and cross-contamination.
Check it out. You can't separate the zone just by changing the floor color without separating the clean zone and the general zone. Separate clean zones and general zones to prevent cross-contamination. Workplace management. So far, we have set the workplaces to enable sanitary work. From now on, we will learn how to manage the workplaces. Workplace management will be divided into 4 categories: ceiling, floor, wall, drainage management, passage and window management, and daylighting and lighting facilities management. First, let's learn about the material of the workplace, such as ceiling, floor, wall, etc. Ceilings, floors, and walls that make up the workplace should be made of water-resistant materials that can be cleaned or disinfected to prevent cross-contamination of biological hazards. It should also be made of a material that does not produce foreign substances such as pieces or screws during cleaning and disinfection. Under the relevant law, the floor should be water-resistant and easily drained. And the inner wall should be equipped with bright colored water resistance, up to 1.5 meters from the floor, or painted with antibacterial paint. Like this, the interior structures of the workplace, such as walls, floors, and ceilings, should be durable and corrosion resistant, and should be easy to clean and disinfect. And make sure there are no damaged parts such as dents, cracks in walls, and ceilings in the workplace. The workplace should be kept in dry condition with the exception of the work characteristics. To keep the floor dry, the workplace floor should be kept clean by setting the periodic dewatering standards or the management standards such as facilities. As you can see, the figure is an example of managing the ceiling, floor, etc. If there is a groove or crack on the floor, dust, mold, foreign matter, etc. may get stuck there, and microorganisms may reproduce. Then, the possibility of cross-contamination increases, so the cracked part should be repaired and managed immediately. Check it out. Depending on the characteristics of the food manufactured and processed, use materials such as water resistance, heat resistance, or water heat resistance inside the workplace.
Next, we will learn about the drainage management. Drainage in the workplace should be well drained above all else. Install the drain cover in fully closed, perforated, grid types. The drain hole and the drain pipe should utilize drain slope, U-shaped trap, etc. to prevent backflow. According to the relevant laws and regulations, it is important that the floor of the workplace is well drained. Therefore, if necessary, equip it with concrete, etc., so that there are no drainage problems.
The picture you can see is an example of drainage management. Periodically check the drainage status, drainage sediment, prevention of backflow, and manage the drainage to keep it clean. As you can see, it is the diagram of workplace drainage system. It prevents cross-contamination by managing the workplace drainage to flow from the clean zone to the general zone.
Next is a passage window management. The door or moving path of the workplace shall be marked with the process flow, the employee movement, or the materials flow paths according to the process flow or the workers' flows. And the moving path should not be used for any purpose other than those indicated in. Regarding the marking method, there is no restriction on specific locations and places such as floors, walls, and doors, so you can mark them according to workplace conditions. The inner walkway shall not be loaded with items that may contaminate the work or used for any other purpose. Anti-damage measures should be taken in consideration of the damage to all glass, including the interior window of the workplace. Be prepared not to scatter glass pieces into the workplace or to mix them into raw materials or subsidiary materials. Use non-breakable materials such as tempered glass or tempered plastic, or attach a glass damage prevention film to the entire workplace.
Check it out. Mark the moving path in the moving passage according to the process flow so that it does not cross when moving.
Keep things clean and do not load items in the passageway so that there is no risk of work contamination. However, if it is inevitable to use the passage due to insufficient workspace, it can be used for storage and loading purposes by marking it with lines, etc., and managing it hygienically.
Use tempered glass, tempered plastic, etc. for all glass in the workplace, or attach a glass damage prevention film to prevent scattering.
Finally, let's look at the daylighting and lighting facilities management. First, the workplace must provide a work environment with sufficient brightness, using natural daylight or artificial lighting. The illuminance standards for each workplace should be set to check for cross-contamination. The brightness of workplace shall be 220 lux, and the screening and inspection zone shall be 540 lux or higher, etc. The illuminance of the workplace is measured at the actual work location and height, not for the entire workplace. Daylighting and lighting facilities should be made of corrosion-resistant materials. The protection devices should be installed and managed at workplaces where food is exposed or packaged to prevent contamination from damage or falling foreign substances.
Check it out. For the screening and inspection zone, please maintain an illuminance of 540 lux or higher so that cross-contamination of food, etc. can be checked. Install protective covers in lighting facilities to prevent scattering. Ancillary facility.
Workplaces have spaces where actual work takes place, but there are also ancillary facilities such as washrooms and changing rooms. To prevent cross-contamination, the sanitary control of the ancillary facilities must also be thorough. Therefore, let's find out what the conditions are for ancillary facility management.
First, let's learn about the washroom management. Washrooms should be installed in a place that does not affect the workplace. Water-resistant and corrosion-resistant materials should be used for the washroom walls, floors, ceilings, and doors, etc.
In addition to the natural ventilation facilities, such as windows, the ventilation facilities in the washroom must be maintained at all times with separate ventilation facilities to allow indoor air to be expelled to the outside. Sanitary facilities, such as hand washing, drying, and disinfection facilities and slippers to washroom, shall be provided at the entrance. Keep it clean to prevent cross-contamination.
Check it out. Wash your hands clean after using the washrooms.
Please install a separate ventilation facility in the washroom so that indoor air is not expelled into the interior of the workplace. Opening the door for ventilation may cause external contaminants to enter. Even if you use a public washroom, set and manage your own management standards, such as carrying hygiene products to prevent cross-contamination.
Next, we will check the changing room management.
In particular, changing rooms should be separated or stored separately to prevent cross-contamination between outdoor clothes, outdoor boots, sanitary boots, and equipped with the ventilation system. Store the closets and shoe racks separately. To prevent cross-contamination by unnecessary items, items such as coins and personal items should be restricted.
Check it out. Please divide and keep the sanitary boots, regular boots, sanitary clothes, and regular clothes to prevent cross-contamination.
Please keep the locker to manage the sanitary clothes clean. Redesign it, as shown in the picture, to facilitate cleaning.
So far, we have learned about workplace management, which is the first step of managing the prerequisites. We hope you to produce safe food by complying with the standards of the workplace zoning method, management method, and the basic hygiene condition of the workplace we learned from this video.
Let's thoroughly manage the hygiene of the workplace using the checklist.